I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. Hello, beautiful, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Breathe. Wow. Thank you for joining me this crisp Florida morning where we are actually able to wear sweaters and experience some crisp little air today, which is very refreshing for me and for this state. So listen, today I just wanted to spend this quick little 10 minutes with you of Breathe to talk about moving from just surviving to thriving. And I wish I could tell you exactly what that looks like for you, but everybody is such an individual and everybody is so different. And so I just want to give you some quick tips and a quick little exercise, as you always know, to experience and to help you move into what you see as a place of thriving, what you want to experience as a place of thriving, right? And of course, I'm going to be coming from trauma, because most of the time when we experience trauma, what happens is that our brain sort of shuts down in certain places, and it has the power, right, to shut down in certain places. And so what happens is, and what can happen, I won't say it happens to everybody, right, because everybody experiences trauma differently. And so, but most of the time with trauma, what will happen is that we will have that brain shut down, and we will follow suit with our life, with our emotions, with our experiences, with our thoughts, everything. We will control, or we will allow it to be controlled, how we experience and how we see things. And so with trauma, we tend to shut down in certain areas. We expect bad things to happen. We expect, not to move forward. We expect, things not to be glorious, exciting, joyful. There's all sorts of different things. We can become paranoid. We can become hypervigilant about things and overactive in certain things. We can develop defense mechanisms that we use to protect ourselves so that we don't experience that trauma again, or we don't experience anything that's unpleasant or what appears to be unpleasant. There's a whole lot of things that we could go in and talk about when it comes to living in what we call survival mode, because that's what happens. Your brain kicks into this survival mode to either keep you out of the trauma, to keep you from being so impacted by the trauma. And I could go into the whole physiological about it, but you know me, I just like to stay in a place of giving you practical things so that you can apply them in these quick little moments. So what can we do? I'm going to give you 3 things. I call them the 3 R's. You may have heard them on our podcast before, and they are the 3 R's. I want you to think about these things, and you can incorporate them into any area of your life, whether it's your career, whether it is relationships, whether it is moving forward financially, whether it is moving forward emotionally. I want you to open up to these things, okay? So beautiful, what I want you to do is I want you to take these exercises, and the first thing that we do is we're going to reassess, right? We're going to reassess. We're going to create a space to rediscover ourselves. You're going to create a space to rediscover yourself. And I like to start my clients and patients off by doing this as an early morning practice for about 3 months for some. I like that number 3. Or 6 months for others, depending on how long we really need to reassess before we move on, right? And so in that, every morning, take time to reassess your life. You can do that by journaling. You can do that by audio recording. You can do that by video recording. I like to do videos of myself and talk about one thing this week and then watch it next week and speak how I've grown in that place, what I've rediscovered about myself in that thing, and go from there. But I want you to reassess. Pick a time early in the morning that's just yours. You're not seeing about kids, you're not taking care of husbands, you're not preparing for work, but it's just your time. If I was speaking straight to my ministry, I would call it my devotional time. So I'm going to let you call it what you would like to call it. But I want you to reassess and take time to reassess whatever it is in your life that you want to work on. If it's your whole life, make subject matters and then begin to reassess them one at a time. I highly recommend you doing only one at a time. Don't try to take on a whole conglomerate of things at one time, especially if it's surrounding trauma, right? Reassess and rethink what it is that you want to even change about that thing, or what you would like to see change about that thing, right? Then after you've been doing that for some time, whether it's the time you deem fit, right? Whether it's that 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, if you want to take all of 2023, I would advise you to do that if that's what you desire. But once you've reassessed, I want you to move into what we call in the therapy world, reframing. It's a cognitive practice to help you take unhealthy, unhelpful thoughts and actively make them useful and healthy. Okay? So the second thing that we're going to do, we're going to reframe. Now, I know reframing can be a daily, it can be a moment, every hour type thing when it comes to thoughts, depending on how your thoughts are going right now. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing about anxiety and depression and everything, but I want you to use this reframing for what you just reassessed in your life. I want you to take the unhealthy and the unuseful thoughts that you had about that particular area in your life, or that particular thing, or that particular trauma, and I want you to reframe the way you think about it. I want you to take it and I want you to use it and experience what was life like before this trauma happened. How did I feel about this subject matter before this trauma happened to me? That's if it's trauma. It could be anything, like I said, in your life. But what have you seen new about whatever it is that you're trying to change? I want you to reframe it and take those thoughts. And every time you have a thought about that particular area in your life, I want you to use that new thought. So if your thought was, let's use losing weight. That seems to be one that people circle around all the time, especially at this time of the year. So what if it's losing weight, right? If it's losing weight and you had a thought that this is hard, right? I want you to reframe that thought from it being hard and say to yourself, it's hard, but it's not impossible. This is not impossible. And keep doing that. If you need to write it down, if you need to remember me, you know I love stickies. If you need to put it on a sticky somewhere and put, this is not impossible. And so that every time you feel or you hear in your mind that this is hard, you repeat to yourself, but this is not impossible. And the more that you practice that, the more that you put that exercise forward, that this is not impossible, the more you put that thought forward that this is not impossible, the more that becomes your forefrontal thought and the forefrontal thinking of your mind. Remember, opening up that mind, the way that brain shut down, right? Opening it back up to something new, it will begin to take on that thought versus this is hard. And you will begin to say, and you will begin to think, this is not impossible, right? Right. And what happens, I just told you the third thing, right, already. Once we've accessed it's the steps 1 and 2, the exercises of 1 and 2, reassessing and reaffirming, then comes renewing. The renew is allowing our habits or our actions to be affected by steps 1 and 2. It's allowing our habits and our actions in our life to be affected by reassessing and reframing, and it becomes new. And once it becomes new, guess what, beautiful? You've just shifted from surviving in that thing to thriving in that thing. You've just moved from shifting from, watch this, surviving mode or survival mode to thriving. And what comes with thriving? The fullness of enjoying a thing, the fullness of being healed in a thing, the fullness of overcoming in a thing. And that's what you want for your life. That's what you deserve for your life, beautiful. You deserve, you deserve to thrive and not just merely survive. So beautiful. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for allowing me to just speak that little thing into existence for you. Share this exercise with you. And as always, if you need to reach out or you like to see more subject matters or you like to hear other discussions, you can always reach us by following us on our website or one of our social media platforms. Or you can even reach out to us via our email. As always, I want you to take a moment, do some great self-care, do some great self-assessment, do some reframing, and then live renewed in that thriving place. Thank you again, beautiful. God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.